It's like, believe me, this is the wheat. This is golden wheat here. And we don't realize until you get amongst world leaders. I'm talking about world leaders. And I was mentioning to Deen in the car. I was saying, you a world leader. he don't want to roll like that. He said, I'm Lil Wallace from the South Side. But believe me, when we're in these events, it's just amazing how the respect that they have for him and the work that he's continuing of his fathers. And it's full court press, 24/7. Believe me, he's talking about spices and stuff now, but he is constantly working. He's in the laboratory. And he's an asset to this community and truly a blessing. And his father knew real clearly. His father was a visionary. We all know that. We've all benefited. But when his father left his ministry in his hand, he knew what he was doing. And so I've just been fortunate to travel with him and be a part of this. Just like he says, I'm on the executive council for the Religions of Peace USA. Little me. I'm like, man, how did I get here? But you just think a lot. You never know how it's going to come. You don't ask for this. It just, and then you just have to be busy. I bought a folder up here for Religions of Peace. I got another folder up here for the U.S. Council of Muslim Organizations, another folder for Religions of Peace, and another folder, because this time last Sunday, we were in Detroit, Michigan, and he was one of the keynote speakers for a program that they had there. Masjid Wali Muhammad is being entered into the historical archives, okay? And this was a fundraiser for it to become registered as a historical archive. It's a historical place. They can never tear it down. And that's amazing. That was temple number 1. So he was one of the keynote speakers along with Usman, who was able to share some of the history. In fact, the so-called real keynote speaker, and I'm not sure how that happened, but that's how they had him listed. When he got up, he said they need to give Usman part 2. I'm in remission, because Usman went back as far as how his mother was there with Fard, W.D. Fard, when Clara Muhammad came and listened to him talk. And on and on and on, just so beautiful. So I just think about this transition and involvement of this community, how once some of us who've been around for a while was in that womb that was called the Nation of Islam at that time, and how we looked like one thing, it was presented as one thing, but all the time we were like a baby in the manger, waiting to evolve into the next stage. And even those who were there and then were told about Imam Muhammad before he was born. This is a true story. They were told about Imam Muhammad before he was born, okay? When I heard that story, believe me, I said, I know I'm in the right place. And then he evolved, he taught us. And if you knew how the world looks at this community and the commentary of Imam Muhammad, even now, when they speak of Rabbil Alameen, you hear so many of them now talking about all the wisdom, knowledge of science, the wisdoms of science, the knowledge of science, and Lord of all the world means the different systems of knowledge, the systems of knowledge. Now we know we heard that right here with Imam Muhammad, and more and more and more. And it's like some of us know that realistically, that the world should be listening to us only. Now, I mean, wisdom comes from everywhere, but as far as the clear understanding, we have it. So he got me up here to talk about our recent travels, but we started off Tuesday week for a joint dialogue between Muslims and Christians. And this was the Council of USA Churches and the U.S. Council of Muslim Organization, which Deen continued to work with his father as one of the founders of that organization. We've been rolling for about 3-4 years, and it's all the major Muslim organizations in America, the major Muslim organizations. So he is an officer in that group. So this group met with the U.S. Council, the USA Council of Churches, to have a dialogue on various topics. Racism, race hate, religion hate, a number of topics, the rate of African Americans who were locked up, the unemployment rate of an African American. In fact, the African American teenager, their rate of unemployment is like over 90%. I want to say 98, but I don't want to quote it. I got a lot of notes. I take notes, not to do articles, but a lot of times the boss say, hey, look, he don't put no pressure on me. I haven't had a chance to digest this, but when we go to these settings with these world leaders, it's just like when you go pay $1,000 to go hear motivational speakers or go to a workshop to hear. We talk about people from all over the world that some of them, they have evolved so spiritually, and their souls are so pure. And I'm talking about people that Imam Muhammad used to roll with, okay? He was a founder of a lot of these organizations. You don't even have to open your mouth. You don't have to speak, and you communicate. They can feel you, they hear you. And then you start talking, it's something you've already been thinking about, and the same with them. So we're fortunate. I pray Allah that more of us understand right here at home, that sometimes you get a lot more love, and you can give more love when you're abroad, when you're dealing with people who don't even look like you, who not even of the same religious denomination as you. But the believer know the believer when the believer see the believer. And it's a high form, so sometimes we got to get out of this petty fault finding we go through in our own community. And it was a reason in that first evolution that we were in, Haaziq Muhammad, may Allah's peace be upon him, used to teach us on hatred of self-hate. He pounded that into us, and almost held a gun in our head. You better love each other. And it was because of Imam Ajin has taught so well, that structure of slavery, what we were brought through to dehumanize us, and sometimes that ugly head pops back up, and it's amazing that how we've evolved and how they don't even want to look and see us. I remember Imam used to say, they act like I'm not even here. Well, those of us know too the same thing. But what's been so fortunate is these organizations that we've been involved in, based on the ministry of Imam Deen Mohammed and the Mosque cares, it's world renowned, okay? And we're received like that. And we're making world decisions. I know that sounds way out to some people, but corporate America is not going to deal with climate control. The politicians, they're not going to deal with climate control. And we're dealing with these stuff. We may start at 9 in the morning and go into 9 at night. Believe me, it's work, okay? And I have a background in university with USC and Cal State University system as an administrator, once as a teacher, but I made a lot more money as an administrator. But, I understand when I'm in these environments that's why I'll take notes. If it's nothing to give to my grandbabies later on, but the president has, made me understand the importance of conveying this information. That's why he dragged me from out on the parking lot in here to talk about this. So I'm not organized like I will be, but inshallah we'll put these notes into some articles. And inshallah, the recent magazine, the Great Sign magazine, Robin took some of my notes and the outline that I did and put together a beautiful article on the 4 or 5 days we were in New York for the climate control. And Ban Ki-moon, the president, the Secretary General of the UN was involved in that. We're in the grassroots, we're working on this stuff, and the next thing you know it, you're hearing it coming from on high. You hear it coming from Barack Obama. Barack Obama we were at the White House in 2010 for the Religions of USA International. Imam Muhammad was one of the founding presidents of that. And so we're in good company. We're in very good company. But sometimes it pains you when you look at your brother and your sister and they trying to hate on something, They may profess that they are with Imam Muhammad, et cetera, but those of us who was here in 2003, when Imam Muhammad said these imams, he said 85% of them are not with me. Right. He wasn't talking about the believers, he was talking about the so-called leaders. And now those of us have lived to see the manifestation of that once he made his transition. And he's no longer with us in the flesh, but he used to always tell us, you are Imam Deen Muhammad. Y'all know that, he told us that. And some of us sincerely believe that and feel that. But those ones that used to constantly say they was with him and supporting him, we don't even see them now. They can come up with some kind of sidewinder, crooked, backstabbing, slimy reason why they got issues with his son. That don't even make sense. You know, Imam always taught on family life, community life. Now, how are you gonna say you love the father and you got issues with his son? It's just not even natural, you know. And I didn't mean to give away, but first day we were there dealing with the Christian and Muslim dialogue. You got all these denominational churches. I mean, folks in the room who's not over one or two churches, but several churches, not just here in America, but all over the world. And they're sitting there. And one of the things, and then you have academia. You have the ones at Union Theological Seminary that have the degrees in religion, and that are really, you know, looked upon as the scholars and the, you know, the really officials when it comes to religion. And we're having dialogue. And then you have the ones who are just, Allah has elevated them so they can sense and see and feel like, you know, you can dream and think about this. But I noticed that when Mohammed Deen, the second speaks, and he's always speaking like his dad. That's what he does. And you can see the wise one. When he speaks, they are listening, hanging off of every word, because he's giving them something that they haven't seen or looked at before. Then sometimes the pseudo-intellectuals, academia, they like, oh, they want a quick snap answer. He gonna talk about the soul and Adam and creation and you know, they don't want to hear that. You know what I'm saying? Truthfully, and believe me, I did 3 years with the USC as an instructor. I didn't have a degree, but I was teaching there. Since I didn't have a degree, they couldn't call me doctor. I didn't have a PhD, but I could make love to their $1 million computers. That's why they hired me. So I did 3 years there, and I did 24 with the Cal State University as an administrator. And I understand academia. In fact, Imam said once that academia may try to steal my language. He said they may change 2 or 3 words when they'll try to say it's theirs. But he used to say, this is the day of religion. He used to say, this is the day of religion. And he used to say, religion means a lie. Religion is sincerity. And these are the words that were of Rasulullah. Imam was just a manifestation in the flesh for us. The book tells us about how we are raised one up from amongst you, from you, talking to you in your language. And a lot of these, that 85% he talked about, that he said wasn't with him, they, I shouldn't use this language, but to paint a picture, they use the Quran in Arabic like snake oil and smoke and mirrors. They try to enchant the believers because they can recite more Arabic, or they can tell you stories, they can even repeat some of the language of Imam Muhammad. But if you look at their deeds and their action, that's the best teacher. Your deeds and your action. If you look at their deeds and their action, sometimes people come to me and say, where's so-and-so? Where is that Imam? They somewhere, but they're not here. They're not here at the house that Imam Deen Mohammed built. So, you know, all I can do is tell you about me. And I remember when he said, I'm no longer your leader. I was there with the detail with him. And he says, I'm resigning as, the leader of he said, I'm going to form my own ministry. Right. He said, you can't be a member of it, but he said, I'm going to have a convention and you can come. He said, I encourage you imams to go and do your convention. I'll come to it, I may come. Now, I mean, and I was like, wherever you go, boss, I'm going to be there. Wherever you go, I made it my effort. Coming from Los Angeles, every month I'd come in here, wherever you were speaking, I'd come in here, because I was like, I may not be a scholar, and I may not speak the Arabic, but I knew, well, Allah blessed me to have enough sense to know this was God's man. This is God's man. And if I can be in here and help to any way I can. And I was like, I don't know, I can't remember when it dawned on me. It probably was in the 90s when I said, I don't know how much longer Allah gonna allow him to be with us. So I said, I came in, I spent all my money coming to hear where Imam Muhammad, what he had to say. And those of us who work with his personal security and details, who were very close to him in a lot of scenarios, they have no problem with his son, Imam Deen Muhammad II, because they're used to his father. And they'll have to turn around and say, man, he's so much like his father. Say, I remember his father, everything, So it's like, you know, I pray Allah that those that have had issues will get over it, you know.